Hello there, guys. Welcome back to yet another video about the Champions League final. I'm just getting going, man. I am milking this for every single video because why not? It's a once in a lifetime opportunity to talk about Manchester City Football Club. I've got Mr. Joe Butterfield alongside me. How you doing, man? You good?
I'm doing very good. I was getting really into that lift music sort of.
It's Final Fantasy VII music. It's Final Fantasy VII music, which is actually will be it is. It's from the beach scene in the original game, Costa del Sol. But it's going to be gone by the time I pre-clipped the trimmed all that kind of stuff. But it's a tune. Thank you for getting involved in it, Joe.
It's good.
Joe, before we talk about Champions League final, I need to play a clip from the latest Hold the L show over on Super 6. If people are watching this, I've been doing loads of videos over on their channel, and it's been cracking fun chatting to the likes of Flav, DT, Akeem, and Nini, and so on, and Pajak and Paul from Redman TV. And this one, we were talking about the future of Harry Kane, basically. And of course, I put in a pretty good argument for why he should be at Manchester City. I'm going to roll this clip and we're going to chat a little bit afterwards. But what I will say beforehand, after this, open a tab right now, click the link in the description and get ready to watch that debate about Harry Kane and give me some love in the comments. But I'm going to roll this clip. Well, look, Aguero's just left.
They never have before.
Aguero's just left. And when you lose someone like Aguero, who is, in my opinion, the greatest natural striker in the Premier League history, then when you lose someone like that, you have to replace someone with the quality. And City don't do that, you're right. We usually spend around 50, 60 million. We've done a lot of those kind of like never broken a record kind of signings. But to be honest, maybe that's why. I mean, if City do, and it's a big if, and City have got a big game this weekend, if that happens and it'd be somehow win the Champions League final, we've won the league, that's probably when you do a signing like that, when you're on top and when you can afford to replace Sergio Aguero. And to be honest, we have to make a statement. And like I actually think if you're going to lose Aguero, you have to replace Aguero with someone like Harry Kane or something like that. And that's why you do it. I want to say initially, did anyone notice Akeem in the corner laugh when I said greatest striker?
I was literally just about to say that.
Why is that controversial? I mean, he's definitely in the top two or three.
It's literally statistically, mathematically true that he is the most lethal striker. So, yeah. Exactly.
And I did say natural strikers. I remember that. So I was covering the Henry thing carefully there. But even Alan Shearer agrees with me. But either way, I think you'd probably agree, Joe. Like Harry Kane, if he has a choice of clubs to go to, and if it's that simple, it's Manchester City, right? I mean, it really obviously is Manchester City.
Yeah,
surely.
I mean, he's wanting to leave Spurs because he wants to go to a club that's guaranteed trophies, because that's not what he's had for the last however long at Spurs. And I think there's no club in the league that guarantees trophies the way City do at the moment. So
exactly.
Yeah, it'd be silly to go anywhere else.
In my opinion, of course, you can watch the whole video over on the Super 6 show, Hold the L. I'm not holding that L this week. Don't worry about it. You guys can go over there as well and give me some love in the comments and let everyone know why Manchester City is the best place for Harry Kane. And then go to the community tab over there as well. And don't vote for me, basically. Vote for someone else, because I'm not losing this one. I'm not losing this one at all. But let's talk about the Champions League final, because that's why we're here, man. That's why we're here. And Joe, thank you for coming on again. It's good to have you. Joe, of course, does the Joe Show over on the 9320 podcast. We are doing a greatest hits tour this week on this channel. I said we. It's just me, I guess. Not maybe Nick is doing it as well in the background. But we are doing a greatest hits tour of all the Manchester City content creators. So far, we've had the Main Road Ramble on yesterday. That was absolute class with John and Andy. And early on today, we had Mulv and Joey from the Noisy Pod. Were absolutely excellent. Today, of course, we got Joe, and tomorrow, hopefully, I've got Mooney from the Blooming Podcast and the City Extra lads, Jordan and Lewis as well, before ASAN, possibly on Saturday morning as well. So don't forget to go check out those videos as well. We did a big chat earlier asking about penalties because it felt relatively relevant for a reason that we don't always need to go into. I'm still enjoying that.
A very funny reason.
Yes, exactly. I mean, they may have the last laugh on this one, so I won't get too carried away. But either way, no. Joe, it's the Champions League final, man. It's coming up in now basically about 48 hours from now. Manchester City will be about to play the Champions League final. How are you feeling about it? Where's your head at with everything at the moment?
I said this yesterday on the podcast that I actually recorded, that basically I'd sort of somehow after everything on Sunday, I'd kind of just like the Champions League just wasn't really in my mind at all until I started to see your videos come out for it, like other content come out for it, and I started to just suddenly then be like, oh my god, like the Champions League finals happening in
it was the same for me
days now.
Until the 9320 pod, when everyone was on it, I hadn't really thought about it properly until that moment. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, shit, it's here now. It's here.
Yeah, that's it. And I feel just like I feel like. It's probably easy to say this when we're a few days away, but I don't feel very nervous. I feel quite not confidence, maybe a word that'll come to bite me if we don't win, but I don't feel I don't feel like we should have anything to fear going into this game. Like in terms of whether we should. A lot of times you can go into a game like this and feel like you may be, despite how good you've been in the league, like it's a Champions League game, anything can happen. But I think coming up against Chelsea, who are in our league, makes it easier to feel confident, given that we've just won that league.
See, you've touched on the title of the video here. We put it for a reason, mainly because Champions League preview part 4 sounds quite boring. You can't ask the same thing every single time. But I think it's genuinely a good talking point. And actually, me and Joe were chatting about this video early in the Twitter DMs, we put this title and whatever. We chose this subject. But I hadn't then had the context as well of speaking to a Chelsea fan. About an hour and a half ago, I spoke to Nini from Blue Lions TV for his channel. And what struck me, and Nini's a really level-headed guy. He's got a very similar worldview to football as I have. He was very confident. And I would not be surprised if that's a feeling shared by a lot of Chelsea fans. It actually struck me how confident Nini was actually, and rightfully so. Chelsea are a very good side, but it was honestly, I was a little bit blown back at how much they're very confident in their side at the moment, and not that it shouldn't be, but I guess from my perspective, looking as a Manchester City fan, I was like, oh, are they going to be confident because they lost to Villa the other day and they lost the cup final? But I'd never seen Nini personally so bullish, and of course he doesn't speak up for all the Chelsea fans, but he's what I would consider a relatively level-headed one, and he was feeling really bullish, and he talks an awful lot about the results so far, and I kept trying to explain you haven't played Manchester City yet so far, and the one time we did, we beat you 3-1, and I know that was a different time because it was back in January, but the last two results, in my opinion, didn't count, and I don't think the Chelsea fans have clicked fully yet. That we were 7-8 changes away. But I guess the point I'm making is that confidence can't be fully misplaced because Chelsea are a good side, and they're not nobodies, and they have a strong argument to be one of the best sides of European football right now. Well, they are, because they are where they are, and I'm sure if we started this season from zero again with this current Chelsea side, they'd be doing a lot better than where they currently are. So I guess what I'm trying to get, the circular argument is Chelsea fans are confident, and maybe is it because they know something we don't? Are they better than we realise because we don't watch them every single week? How good do you expect them to be, Joe?
I think that it's Thomas Tuchel managing a side, so it's obviously going to be a good side because he's a good manager and he gets his teams playing very organised and good football. It's quite defensively solid, as well as also being very high press and high intensity, which, kind of sounds a lot like what we've got this season, to be honest. And I think that, you're right in terms of, this was my ultimate argument when it comes to it all, is that Tuchel's Chelsea has not played against full Manchester City yet. They've played against Nathan Ake and Benjamin Mendy. They've played against, they've played against,
play wing backs. One midfielder in Rodri.
Exactly. They played against Torres, Sterling and Jesus, that front three that has been pretty woeful really for the most part that it's played towards the end of the season. I don't think they have that. I mean, obviously, they can be confident generally because they were so defensively solid for a long time. They went unbeaten for a long time after Tuchel took over them. So they have reasons to sort of look back and go, well, we're not a side that should go into a game feeling like we're going to lose. And I understand that because they're in the Champions League final and they beat Madrid to get there. But I just think that ultimately I've seen more evidence that Chelsea's strongest team can be beaten based on the last month or two and some of the results. I mean, that Villa game, that Chelsea squad that they put out, yeah, sure, it was missing Kante because he was just presumably being rested for next weekend, but it wasn't a million miles away from their strongest team, and they were beaten by Villa. And we've had some some defeats recently, but you can look at the squads with the exception of maybe Brighton, who, after that ridiculous red card in the first 10 minutes, you can look at pretty much all of our defeats and look at maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 changes and see that as the reason why we lost those games. Whereas, I basically, the way I see it is our strongest team. I've seen less reasons to be concerned about our strongest team than I imagine a Chelsea fan would have about their strongest team.
It was interesting because, and once again, you've got to be bullish about your team. When I was chatting to Nini, once again, he isn't represented, but he's a quality bloke, by the way. I got on really well with him, just a top guy. But he was saying, and I wish I'd kind of thought about this, but I hadn't really thought about it. I'd even forgotten about the last result, but he was saying, they feel confident because usually in big games they have the answers. But the last 2 big games they've had, they literally haven't had the answers. I mean, they were still playing for the Champions League spot, and they got beat by Aston Villa. And they obviously the final as well, they lost the final as well. Like, and obviously I know they got through the semis and all that kind of stuff, and ultimately got there. They got in the Champions League spots, and that's a success. But they got there because other people fucked up at the end as well. So it's worth bearing that in mind, isn't it? You know, like So it's like I'm not saying they're wrong to be confident, but I think you're right. They have got more question marks about their side than Manchester City, and that's not arrogant. It's just Manchester City is statistically, in every sense of the word, at the moment.
And even if you look at their route to the Champions League final, I mean, they played against Porto, which was like literally when that quarter and semi-finals were drawn at the same time, everyone looked at that side of the draw and thought Chelsea have got the easiest run possible to the final. Like, that Porto side was literally the easiest draw that was in that round. And then, you know, you're playing against Madrid, who at the time were pretty, you know, despite being on a bit of a resurgence in the league, were pretty woeful in Europe at that point and have obvious frailties in the squad. So they had no Sergio Ramos for the two legs as well. And if they weren't playing against them, they would have played against Liverpool. And we all know what kind of season they've had despite their pretty, you know, decent finish. So I think that it's fair to say that City, going into it, having just beat Dortmund and PSG to get to the final, can probably look at their Champions League run and say, well, we've faced much tougher opposition to get here. So we've maybe got more reason to feel confident about what we've done in the Champions League so far. But ultimately, if you get to the final, you're a very good team. And it's not like I'm going into this thinking, oh yeah, Chelsea, don't worry, we'll beat them. I'm confident, but I'm not, you know, it's a one-off game and it's a Champions League final. Like who knows what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it struck me as well when I was chatting to him how he felt there's going to be space to get at City. I was like, you're basing that off when we played three at the back and Rodri. Like, there isn't space against Manchester City when we play how we do. I mean, like, with all due respect, and Werner, Pulisic, Mount, maybe Hudson-Odoi, I don't want three of those four. They're very good players, but they aren't Neymar, Mbappe, and Di Maria. And that's, once again, that's not an unfair comment. That's just genuinely true. They are three of the best attackers in world football. Like, possibly, you know, like, that's just a statistical fact once again. Like, I mean, I don't know, we can't really measure that, but, you know, it's a fact that no one would argue, you know, like, no one would argue that those three. It's just true. They're free. It's a world-class forward line. And defensively, Manchester City were absolutely excellent. Now, I'm not denying Chelsea haven't got quality players. They have. But their forward line shouldn't, 9 times out of 10, shouldn't cause us more trouble than their forward line. I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I keep adding the caveat there. I'm just talking purely on paper. PSG's forward line, I would say it's better than Chelsea's, and we managed to maintain that. Maybe those Chelsea's is better organised, I will give them that. Maybe Chelsea's has got a better structure, you know, and a better manager, and I probably have, and, you know, there may be more of a suitable team, and they probably got better temperament than PSG have. But I guess what we're saying is, like, you know, we're being very confident here, rightfully so. I want to flip it around, though, and I want you to really look deep into Chelsea, Joe, and tell us why we should fear Chelsea. Like, if you were being utterly negative, like you were fearing the worst, typical City was kicking in. There are reasons, but what I know why you think personally we should be cautious.
They're defensively very good, and they've shown that with their sort of unbeaten streak that they went on after Tuchel. Yes. I think they had so many. The fact that when Lampard left, they were conceding goals for fun. And yet it still ended up that Edouard Mendy was within for a shout of getting the Golden Glove come the end of the season. That just shows how good defensively they are, especially under Tuchel at least. Kante, if he's fit for the final, then, you know, he can do a lot that most defenses that most teams that we go up against just simply can't, even on his own. And Mason Mount going forward, I think Mason Mount is having a ridiculously good season, and he's turned up in the Champions League as well. He scored goals against Madrid and Porto. I think there's a lot of reasons to fear them going forward. I personally think that Timo Werner is a big thing to be worried about. I know that he's having a bit of a season where he's become a bit of a meme almost, but everyone's just laughing at him. But
that's why I'm scared.
It's typical, isn't it? It would be typical, yeah. But I think it's ultimately he's getting into positions to score. Like, you don't get into the position. He's got so many high profile misses because he's constantly in the positions to score them, and all it takes is for him to just get into one of those. Or we saw what he did. But again, this was a game where we were playing our very out of sorts back line. But the goal that he set, that last minute winner that he set up in the Premier League, where he basically just burned past our defense and then managed to get a cross in for Alonso. Like, he's got pace, and I still think that. Don't get me wrong. We dealt with Mbappe in the first leg against PSG. We clearly have a plan of how to deal with pacey players. But if someone manages to get past that defensive line and has pace, then we even saw it against Everton. If a pass gets played in behind, Ruben Diaz doesn't necessarily have the pace to keep up with someone like even Calvert-Lewin. So who knows what happens if that's Timo Werner who goes through on goal.
And the thing is, I guess what I will say to slightly counter that, and even though you're right to say it, because you might not be there, but I guess what really helped us against PSG was Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker wasn't playing in those other games, So like Kyle Walker wasn't there to clean up basically. Scully Kelly, big love for Scully Kelly for the super chat, says Pep went very Machiavellian regarding the last 2 meetings with Tuchel. Tuchel won't know what's
I think that's a big factor.
I initially, my initial reaction to that when people said it a few weeks back and was a bit cynical. I was like, yeah, but fucking everyone knows how Manchester City play. And the more I thought about it with time, especially when we played them again, and then, the more like... Do you know what? It's kind of right, actually, because like look, I chatted to Nader Manua on this channel, which sounds like such a humble brag, but it's true. And like he did say, look, you can plan for it all you want, but at the end of the day, you still have to play him on the pitch, and unless you've experienced it, you don't know it, and it is a factor. Like Tuchel can sit there on a drawing board and mark out how he's going to do, but he doesn't know if Werner's tricks are going to get past Kyle Walker. You can hope they will, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know how Fernandinho's going to react to those players. He doesn't know if Mason Mount is going to have a tough time against drifting inside with Stones and Diaz. He doesn't know those things yet, do they? And I guess the point I'm making is there's potential problems that haven't yet arisen for both sides for what it's worth. No, I would say Leicester City, because City have seen more of their better players on the pitch than they've seen ours. Because they've barely seen Phil Foden and Mahrez and people like that. Yeah. So is that intentional, man? Do you think that's...
Tuchel hasn't played against... I think De Bruyne played the first half of the FA Cup semi-final before he went off with a knock. And then it was the first like 50, 60 minutes, and then Foden came on for whatever was left. And that's all he's seen of those two. I don't think they were even involved in the Premier League game.
Here we go. I'll get with the semi-final, Joe. I'll read the lineup out now. Basically, there was no Mahrez, no Foden, no Bernardo, no Gundogan, no Kyle Walker, no Zinchenko, no Stones, and no Ederson.
That's just basically our entire starting 11.
So how many is that? How many is that? So Mahrez, Foden, Gundogan, Bernardo, Zinchenko, Walker, Stones, Ederson. So there was 8 players that you think we were going to start there, and then if we come to semi-final, we lost that 1-0. Their team was... They had a couple of changes, but it was definitely a lot stronger than ours, definitely. Let's have a look at the last one in the league. There was... we played 3 at the back with Cancelo and Mendy, and Rodri on his own in midfield for his worth. But there was no Stones.
That was insane. That starting lineup was insane. I remember seeing that and just thinking, "What is this? This is so obviously just like throwing the game so that the Champions League final remains a mystery to him." Yeah. It was so there was nothing.
No Stones, no Walker, no Zinchenko, no Fernandinho, no Gundogan, Bernardo, Mahrez, De Bruyne, or Foden. There was only one player you think would start. Sorry, 2 players, Diaz and Ederson. That was it. So that's where they're at. Like how we're in a different world, aren't we?
And
we're in a different world.
And you know what the strangest thing is about why a Chelsea fan would take any confidence from that? They didn't beat us comfortably in either of those games. They beat us like for the FA Cup final. They beat us because Zach Steffen made a mistake and they had an easy tap in basically, and they beat us in the very last minute of the Premier League game with a bit of a fortunate goal where Alonso scuffed it into the net. Like, don't get me wrong, a win's a win, and they've won both of the games. But it's not like we were battered. We put out second string sides, and one of them we put out 1 central midfielder and 3 at the back, and they only beat us by 1 goal in the last minute. Like, I don't understand where. Don't get me wrong. Again, this probably has no bearing on the final because the teams are completely different. But I don't see why, as a Chelsea fan, you would look at that and feel like you can take anything away from those 2 games because they're just completely nothing compared to what they're going to get in the final.
Regardless of what we think on that, the simple matter of the fact is that Chilwell, Reece James, all these players, they haven't played against Phil Foden. They literally haven't played against him in the system. They haven't played against Mahrez. They literally have not played against Bernardo.
Chilwell has played against Mahrez and been beaten comfortably by Mahrez on a couple of occasions. I think that's one we do know about.
But the thing is, what I will say is like they don't know how the players are going to play against them. Like they just don't know. And likewise, we don't know how Phil Foden's going to play against them, which is a fair counter. But I would rather our players, attacking players, going fresh, and because they're the ones with the tricks and the surprises, and that is an issue. It's an issue. It's a subject to talk about, because of course it makes a difference. Because there's no chance for, you only need one mistake, basically one mistake to lose a game of the Champions League quality. And I guess the point I'm making is like I would like the idea of Foden going in, so Aspilicueta or someone like going in blind against Foden. And what someone put in the comments, by the way, guys, stop this nonsense. We're going to look stupid. No. Look, we're not saying Chelsea aren't have got a chance. We're just pointing out that Chelsea's recent history is not representative of what this game is going to be, and that's a fair comment in my personal opinion.
I think as well, like the thing is, the defense, effectively the way that it works is the attack is the proactive one and the defense is the reactive one. So if the defense doesn't know how to react to what's coming, they are naturally at the disadvantage of not having played against each other before, because like you say, you would much rather the attackers go in fresh, because they're the ones who are asking the questions that the defenders have to answer. So if they go in knowing what to do to stop Foden or Mahrez, for example, kind of like you mentioned, the fact they don't is worse for Chelsea than it is for us, quite comfortably. Yeah, and I think but then alternatively,
you have to learn their movements.
But then conversely, you could say the same thing of our back four, because I don't think our back four has played against Tuchel's Chelsea either. I mean, I think they've played separately, but not all together as a back four. But then our defense is at the point where we PSG and Dortmund kind of showed it. If we've obviously worked on what to do to nullify a striker, we can do it quite with relative ease. We showed in the semi-final and the quarterfinals with Haaland and Mbappe and Neymar. So I'm more confident in our defense going into that blindly than I necessarily would be as a Chelsea fan, given how some of their recent results have gone. But again, I'm a City fan, so I am going to say that.
And I guess, once again, I need to add the caveat, because I know there's a couple of Chelsea fans watching this. We're not trying to be confident. I guess the point you're making is why Man City fans should feel positive. And this is a thing. And Chelsea are a very good side. No one is going to argue that. But there are simple, and I guess the reason I brought a lot of this up, because I've just had a conversation with Chelsea for 20 minutes where he was talking about how Tuchel understands Man City's. I was like, you don't. You literally don't, because you haven't played it yet. And you have an idea, and someone said, why are you acting like you got Tuchel worked out? I'm not saying we have. What I'm saying is Tuchel quite literally doesn't have City worked out. He can't do, because you need to play against these players to do it. And Guardiola would say the same if he hasn't played against some of their key players. He go, we have to see how they play on the day, and we have to react to it. And that's the point. It's always, football is about reacting to what the opposition brings to you, as much as it is about being proactive as well. So it's definitely something to consider. I'm not trying to be cocky or arrogant. We're just pointing out I guess, look, if you're a Chelsea fan, you started watching, and Manchester City fans trying to explain why City shouldn't be too apprehensive, we're not being unreasonable. But you'd be saying exactly the same if you were in our shoes. You would be, because it's just how it works. But Chelsea are a fucking good side. They really are. They are going to be our biggest challenger next season. Is that something you share? In my opinion, they are. I think they will be.
Yeah. I think they're because of the sort of recent transfer activity they've had. I know last season they went in quite hard in the transfer market, but that's because they had 2 or 3 years of not spending in the transfer market to make up. And I think they've probably still, kind of similar to us, they've probably still got a lot of money to play with. So I don't think they'll go into next season and not strengthen, kind of in the same way that we will strengthen. And I think that ultimately Tuchel is one of the best managers in the league. I think that Liverpool, I think I really don't know what to expect from Liverpool next season, given how they've had this season. And I don't think that it's as simple as if Van Dijk and Gomez were fit, they would have been our closest challenge. I really don't think it's that simple. I think that squad has a bit of work that needs doing to it. But I think Chelsea are very much on the up. And if they can, solve a few of the problems that their squad seems to have, like maybe get another defender in, start to think about, Reece James is already there, but they need someone who can replace Aspilicueta. Maybe get another forward possibly. But I just think, if they do any of those things, if they get 1 or 2 more players for that squad, then they're going to be right up there with us. It just depends on. So I think that I think that definitely Tuchel is Probably. I think Asan said it on 9320 as well when just after we played against Chelsea the first time, I think, or we had it in a preview. He very much sees Tuchel as the guy, like the new Klopp for Pep, like that. It'll be that battle next season, and I completely agree. I just don't see any reason why he would not be. Him and Chelsea would not be the team to fear next season.
Yeah, no, it makes an awful lot of sense. They are winners as well, aren't you? Know, and they've been consistently winners for, like, we can turn around and say Abramovich can be a bit trigger happy, but he usually finds a way to make them win again, doesn't he? And he's done it for a long time now, since 2004, or whenever it was the takeover. So they will be there and they will be back, and they've always felt like the one to me that would come back, because I think they're still a bit better organised than United are. You know, like they're better than their backroom staff are better than Ed Woodward and so on. The directors, and I don't know who they are, but they seem to be. They
have a plan. They have a coherent plan from the top down, and it's just.
I'm not saying the City's level of plan, just because I think City's generally is different, but it's much better than what I would say the mess is that United's backroom staff. The directors of football and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Liverpool could be back there as well, I guess, and we'll have to see for next season, because Liverpool, they'll be refreshed and all that kind of stuff, and they'll have. We'll see how Van Dijk comes back from injuries and all that kind of stuff, but we'll worry about that because we've got much bigger fish to fry before that. Who are you looking out personally for personally in this game from a Manchester City perspective, Joe, to have success against Chelsea? Is there one player that you feel could be the difference maker on the day?
Oh yeah, De Bruyne. De Bruyne loves a goal against Chelsea.
He's quite good, Mr. Kevin De Bruyne, isn't he?
It's one of those where, because we did so well in that 21 game run, we had a lot of that and we didn't play with De Bruyne. It was very easy to sort of look at how well we played without him and go, well, maybe this team plays even better when Kevin De Bruyne is not in it. And then you have a game like Everton where he's literally just come back from being off for 2 weeks or something like that. He's just been out the side with a knock or something. He comes back in and immediately he's the best player on the pitch again. And it's just, I think he's. Go on.
Look, as well, Joe, what I quickly say is, like, people forget that Kevin De Bruyne is very best. I'm not trying to play down Foden and Morris, but he's way better. Like, honestly, Kevin De Bruyne is 10 out of 10. His 10 out of 10 performance individual it's Messi level. When Kevin De Bruyne plays at his very best, we're talking about, and like, Foden might get there, and Bernardo and Gundogan and Morris can be credible. I genuinely believe KDB at his very best is just. No one can touch him. I believe no one can genuinely touch him.
No, I don't think there's a single player on that pitch who's going to be like, if he brings on the game that he can do, he's just so, as well as his technical ability, he's just a physical specimen. You can't stop him when he's like in that stride of that run, and the number of times he gets knocked and you think he's been fouled, and he'll just stumble and just carry on, or he'll just shift his body weight a little bit and just get a pass off that you don't even know is possible at the time.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's insane. And I think that if he turns up, and he does love a big game, I think if he turns up, then we've got an advantage immediately. I think Foden is the obvious other player to watch out for, because he's been so good in the Champions League that I just feel like a goal is coming.
Why is that, Jicken? Why do you love this competition so much?
I think he's because he's a kind of kid who has grown up. Like, he was 11 years old when we were playing the Champions League the first time round. Like, he was a ball boy when we were winning in 2012. And I just feel like he's grown up with Manchester City being a Champions League team. And I just think that, because I think everyone sort of grows up, don't they, with watching the Champions League and seeing it on, even for people like, for us, for people our age, seeing it on ITV on like the midweek games and stuff. But I think like when you're someone like Phil Foden, who for him, City being in the Champions League is just the norm, and he's grown up wanting to be a part of that competition. I think it's probably something to do with how European football is played against like the other teams. I think because Gundogan is also another player who's particularly good in the Champions League, maybe even more so than the Premier League. How relevant that is when it comes to playing against another Premier League side in Chelsea is another matter. But I think his performances in the Champions League have just been insane this season. I mean, he's already been good enough in the Premier League for me to make my personal like team of the season in the Premier League. But I think he's in the Champions League. He just embraces it. It's just he loves the big occasions. He doesn't get phased by them at all. If anything, they just make him play better. Which is for a guy who's 21 years old is. It's just amazing. Like, I don't understand how he doesn't feel any of the pressure that's on him. Like when Mika Richards was talking to him after the title win and telling him how much he loves him and asking, do you know how good you are? And it's just like he doesn't even seem bothered. Like, if I was having people tell me that all day, I'd be loving life. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. But he just seems like he just goes, yeah.
Look,
All right.
He treats the Champions League big games like that in the way that I used to like run into a theme park as a kid, like excitement. It's like, oh, look at it, everything's gonna be everything should be terrifying, but you love the adrenaline of it, and he seems to get excited in that same way. Because I even now as an adult, if I go to Alton Towers and all that, I'm like, oh yes, roller coasters, and they're meant to be terrifying. But it's like he has that same kind of attitude to big terrifying games of football. It's almost like it's like he's a thrill seeker almost, and I mean that in terms of he wants to play against quality players because it's almost like, oh, this is mint. He looks around and goes, this is where I want to be. And it's almost like he's not scared. Oh shit, this is where I want to be. And he's like, oh, this is great. It's almost like he's just got a happy-go-lucky attitude to football, and football is so naturally a part of him. And I can't remember who I was chatting to. It was one of the. It was either Mayroad Ramble or Noisy, but I was saying he reminds me more as a footballer of someone like Messi. I'm not saying he's that level, but I mean in terms of his mentality, how some players they look like the product of sheer work rate and ability and desire. Like Ronaldo, people say that about Ronaldo. Like he was absolutely determined and driven to be the very best, and he got there himself by sheer work rate and determination. Whereas I feel like Phil Foden is one of those people where football just comes naturally to him. It's just who he is as a person, in the way that obviously football comes naturally to Ronaldo. But I guess the point I'm making, that debate has always been about naturally gifted but works really hard. And Messi's always been when everyone's gone. It just comes easy for him. And to me, Phil Foden is very much that kind of player where football doesn't faze him because it's all he knows and it's all he is. And he's like, how can you be scared by something that all you ever think about? It feels to me like it's just who he is. And I think I remember that interview where his mum said he was the cheapest kid in the world because all you wanted was a football. Didn't want anything else for Christmas. Just a football. That was it.
I think you see that in, you hear all the time about from the coaching staff and stuff about how he's like, you have to drag him off the training pitch because he's just constantly out there doing extra work and stuff. Like, he's doing kick-ups, like opening Pokemon cards and like all this other stuff. Like, I can't do that. I can't even like do kick-ups when I'm not doing anything else at the same time. But I think it's just another, you see it on the pitch in terms of like how he's not afraid. Do you know when we first got Gabriel Jesus and he was pulling out tricks he had like a lot of that Brazilian flair to him that we all sort of loved at the time. And he was, Foden's doing that every week. Like he's always doing it. You come away from every game and there's some kind of, you'll be able to find some highlight of him just making a defender or a midfielder just look stupid with some kind of skill that he's pulled out. And I think the fact that he's doing that with a lot of regularity and successfully as well, and to do that he's not got any reason to not keep doing it because it's doing so well. I just think it's just crazy. We're so lucky to have him. I think if he was playing for anybody else, I'd hate the idea of this guy being at their club for the next 10, 15 years, and we've got him.
Like, we know how good he is, but I do think sometimes the fact that he plays for us and he's just kind of arrived is it's one of the reasons why I don't think we do know how good he is, but I feel like we'd be more excited if he hadn't been here for a while, if you know what I mean by that. It's like, he's just like, I think he's fucking amazing, and we know that, but it's been such a slow burn to get to this point. It's almost like this sudden level that he's reached over the past few months, and it has been the past few months, hasn't kind of come as a surprise. We've just kind of gotten used to it, whereas I feel like if he'd just he came in as a raw talent this quickly and been this good, everyone would be like, fucking hell. But as it is, we've had we've just gotten used to him getting brilliant. And I think sometimes we need to step back and go, God, this kid is really fucking good. Fucking good. Like, and we know that, but like, what am I swearing for? Someone said, because I'm 35 years old, by the way. So, and this is what I do. Like, I'm from Manchester. Like, who tells someone off for swearing these days? It's not primary school. But either way, like,
terrible.
I'm swearing because you have to swear about Phil Foden because he's fucking brilliant and it's worth saying. But yeah, Phil is like, we're gifted. We're absolutely gifted to have someone of that immense ability. I feel like it feels like we've suddenly very quickly gone from he doesn't look out of place in the first team to Jesus, this guy's got to start every game. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't be starting every game. So yeah, it's like you say, it feels like it's been very much a slow burn, but in this last sort of 12 months in particular, I think since Project Restart last year, when he had that sort of really, because he played most of the games after that, didn't he? And he looked really good and scored quite a few goals and everything. We all thought this kid's good enough to be like in our first team next year quite easily. But now
Now it's just like, if he doesn't start the Champions League final, like, I'm gonna kick off. Like, I don't understand why. There's no reason why he shouldn't be involved.
There's no way he doesn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me of me with Foden? It reminds me a little bit of like a superhero origin story where they start to find the powers a little bit and they're like, fuck, I'm good. And they start to realize what they can do. Before you know it, like by the second arc of the film, they're already at the point where like, I am really powerful. He's getting there quickly. And every single week now in a big game, you see Foden do something which goes, bloody, he's getting more and more confident. And that should be terrifying people because he's getting stronger. He's getting more and more confident with himself and what he can do. And I think we're barely scratching the surface of a confident Phil Foden.
What do you think about Aguero saying that he should take over the number 10? Would you be happy with that?
Absolutely spot on. I think he's absolutely spot on. And Phil Foden should be Manchester City's 10 for the next 10 years, at the very least. 100%. You want him an iconic number, and there's no one more fitting, in my personal opinion, to take over from number 10 than Phil Foden, because Phil Foden is ours. And it should be... I know some people say the 47 because it's linked to personal reasons for his granddad and things like that, and I get that. But, I mean, I think, personally, Foden probably wants a first-team number. Because, I mean, if you're a little kid growing up, you want a number like... Of course you want Aguero's number. You're a Manchester City fan. And, like, I feel like he could make that number 10... This sounds like a big...
It could be the Phil Foden number.
Yes. To me, 16 is always Aguero's number. It is, and it will be forever. Because that's where he had his most iconic moment in. But that, to me, he could become our best ever player in 15 years from now. Look back and say that as the number 10. And that would then be like... Phil Foden, number 10, step into those shoes if anyone can. And, United had the number 7, the old fucking wank over. Like, I want the idea of, like, Aguero's 10, Phil Foden 10. Someone's got to follow that. I want that, man. I want that. And that, to me, would be... It's exciting, and these little things shouldn't matter, but they're fun. They're fun, and I like it. PF10 doesn't really roll off the tongue, but it's still pretty cool, isn't it?
Neither does PF47, to be fair, so I think it's an upgrade.
It sounds like some kind of like, I don't know, okay, it's like a gun or something.
As someone's just put in the comments as well. You can't forget that Aguero had to take over from Edin Dzeko. Those were some big boots to fill.
Exactly. Dzeko, Aguero, Foden. Who knows after that? It'll be someone else. Best thing about it is whoever that's going to be probably is even a footballer yet. Genuinely, that's crazy to think that whoever takes over from that number 10, well, they're not a footballer yet. There'll be a kid in the academy somewhere because there's no one around now like who's playing that would be able to take over Foden for 15 years from now if he stays around that long, which is just absolutely insane to think about. That's how young he is. Joe, as we wrap up this video, I want to know... Where's your head at, man? How's this game going to unfold? Like, is it going to be cagey first half? Are we going to blitz them? How's it going to... Tell me the story of the match, the flow of it.
This is where my reputation is made or broken. I think we're going to come... I think it's going to be a very slow first 10 to 15 minutes. I think we saw in the first sort of 20-25 minutes against Dortmund and PSG in those first legs of those games that I almost felt like we went into those and we were a bit like not nervous, but we were a bit like, right, let's not do anything stupid in this first 20 minutes. Let's not. And those were two-legged ties, to be fair. So that they're kind of a different situation. I think we're going to be careful in the first 10, 15 minutes. I don't know whether Chelsea are going to play on that and just try and go at us. But I think we'll grow into the game. We'll start to dominate. I think we'll score the first goal. I don't know who's going to. I'll say De Bruyne. De Bruyne is going to score the first goal. But I don't even want to get into trying to predict a score. But I do think that we win, and I think it's done. I think it's over in normal time. I'm not having any of this penalties bollocks. I'm not having that. It was so nervous. Like I'd get nervous watching penalty shootouts with teams that I don't care about.
Yeah, I was terrified last night. That's what made it sink in to be the final. I was like, fuck's sake.
So if that happens on Saturday, because I'll be watching it at the Academy Stadium with where they're doing the screening. So if that happens, I'm literally just gonna not watch the screen. I'm gonna turn around and just wait for people to react to it. I'm not gonna be able to do it to myself. It's gonna be horrible.
We did a whole video about this with the Noisy Neighbours podcast, but I'm going to ask you anyway. You've got a last minute penalty to win the game, 90th minute. Who's on the pitch and who's going to take it?
I want Gundogan or De Bruyne to take it. I'd love Ederson to take it, but I don't want Ederson to take it.
He's missing. He's hitting the crossbar. It's flying back down the other end, and they're scoring. So that's no way. Not for me.
If it's the last minute, to be honest, I've got more faith in Gundogan's penalty taking than De Bruyne's. I think that Anfield one was just one where he tried something so different to what he always does that it was kind of weird. I think if he just sticks to his normal side footing it on the inside of one of the posts, then yeah, I don't know. Someone said Aguero. God, I would love that. That would be the perfect ending, but it won't happen. I'm afraid.
The only thing that would ever top 93-20 for me is Aguero scoring a winner in this game.
Yeah,
and the reason they top it is because it encompasses the 93-20 story. Because it's the whole story, isn't it? It's like it's that story plus one. Because it's like the end of that story. If that makes sense, it's like the end of his 93-20. So that's the only thing for me that would top it. But I mean, so you're going for Gundogan basically. A lot of people say Mahrez. I would not be surprised if he stepped up to take it. I wouldn't be surprised.
Neither would I. I don't know if we're still doing that. I don't know if the squad is still working on that, take the penalties until you miss a penalty thing. Where
rock, paper, scissors, stone may as well be that. Yeah. May as well. That's what it feels like.
Because it felt like, I remember when Mahrez talked about that penalty he scored against Dortmund, he just said, I wanted to take it, so I took it. And I feel like it's going to come down to the same. They'll have spoken about it beforehand, obviously. But I feel like, honestly, whoever's on the pitch and picks the ball up and says, yeah, I'm having this, the rest of the squad will probably just go, yeah, all right. I just feel like that's our penalty taking strategy at the moment. And I don't know who's going to be. I think De Bruyne probably doesn't want that. I don't think he's a fan of taking penalties. I think if someone else takes it and says, no, this is mine, De Bruyne will probably just go, right, yes. Okay.
I agree.
And I think you're probably right that Mahrez might be that guy who steps up and goes, nah, give it here. I'll score it. And I think
he's exceptionally confident, isn't he?
I honestly, the way he's playing at the moment, I would back him to score it, to be honest. But let's hope it doesn't come down to a last minute penalty, please.
Who's taking you five? Who's taking you five then? If you have to take a penalty shootout.
So Gundogan, De Bruyne. Am I doing it in order or just any five?
Go in order if you can.
Right.
You can think.
So you want to get a strong one out the way. So Gundogan, you want to get De Bruyne, Foden. I think he took one in the Community Shield like 2 years ago, and he scored that. So there's no way that he's not better now. Mahrez take the fourth, and then Ederson take the fifth. Like I actually want to see Ederson take the fifth one because there's no risk if he misses. Like he's a goalkeeper. Like it's not gonna matter. And if he is our best penalty taker, then he should be taking one of the five. And everyone at the club, including Pep, seems to think he is.
I think he misses. I honestly think he misses.
No, don't do this. He definitely will. That's the thing. It's like it's been built up so much now that he's never going to score.
Of course he misses. I feel like I've never been more certain of anything in my life. He'll absolutely wallop it over. Like he'll twat it over. Hopefully he doesn't come to that. And maybe I'm wrong, but that I could not. Is there anything more Manchester City than Ederson missing a penalty? Like it's just. It just sounds so Manchester City, and maybe I'm wrong. But by the way, I said earlier that I feel like, and someone just mentioned it, but I said during the video I did earlier with Pence, I think Zinchenko would be a very good penalty taker. It's something about Zinchenko to be screams confidence and like.
He did take one. Did he take one? Did he take one in the Community Shield as well? When it in that shootout, I don't know why I can remember Zinchenko taking a penalty for us in some shootout of some kind.
I can't remember, but I would not be surprised. I feel like he did, but then I could be genuinely pitching Kevin De Bruyne. So someone will let us know in the comments. Yeah, Buster Gina said he did. I think he actually probably did actually. Yeah, Zinchenko is a lad as well. He's a top guy.
I think Fernandinho's a good shout to take one as well because I remember him doing it in the League Cup shootout against Liverpool. He took one of the five then.
I trust that streak from here. I feel like he'd score. Also, you got I always talk about off the pitch stuff, but because I know it matters, and you've got to bear in mind where players are in terms of confidence on a personal level. And Zinchenko at the moment, life is fucking amazing for Zinchenko. Like it could not be better. Like he's proved himself at City. He's got married, and all that kind of stuff. He's captain of Ukraine. He's once again like he looks like everything's great for him. And if I was ever going to back myself to score, it'd probably be when those life events had happened to me as well. And that kind of stuff does matter. But I just hope we don't get there. I retweeted someone last night saying I would probably just die if it happened to that. I'd try to kill myself because it's out. I'm obviously not going to do it. Don't worry, I'm not But I ran to watch it, get in touch with Samaritans. But he would say it sounds horrible and painful. But I'm hoping you're right. I think it'll be done in 90 minutes as well. Fingers crossed. Joe, you're a fucking legend, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, go and follow Joe as always. Me and Joe are going to be doing a lot more videos together at some point. We will be doing it because I love chatting to Joe on this channel and probably somewhere else. Who knows? We'll work out over the summer. For now, though, Joe, you're an absolute legend. Guys, I want to we'll say once again, go and click the link in the description below. Do me a massive favour. Go and support me in the comments over on the Super 6 latest Hold DL show. It's got to be Man City if Kane's going anywhere. So let me know. Go support me in the comments over in that video. It's a link in the description below. Joe, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to talk to you after the game. I'm hoping it's sponsoring. I might see you there at the weekend as well. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so.
Fingers crossed I will do. Guys, go and check out the video I did earlier with the Noisy Neighbours podcast. Who should take the City penalties? It's a good old chat. They're very funny. Mulv and Joey, genuinely very funny people. The chat yesterday with Main Road Ramble was great, and hopefully tomorrow I've got some more powerhouses. I've got the Blue Moon podcast, Mr. Mooney, and hopefully I should have the City Extra Large Jordan and Lewis on as well. For now though, you're absolutely awesome. Like, comment, subscribe. Say goodbye to everyone in the comments, and have a wonderful evening. See you all in a bit.